Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
I can't tell you how hard it is to hold back the joke, the NSYNC, the Justin jokes right now.
Yeah, I believe in you. I think you can do this. you can hold back.
Just because, like, I respect the craft, but just know for our friends at home, I'm thinking of you, and I hope that you're getting lots of the good goofs today. But I swear, if one of my coworkers emails me one of them today, I'm blocking them. I don't know how to do that on my work account, but I'm doing it.
I'm going to find a way.
I'm going to find a way. Anyways, welcome to my birthday month.
Ew.
Friends.
Everyone said nice.
Prepared
said
for me to be insufferable.
Yeah. It's Allie's month. Okay.
It is. It's the good season. And also welcome to It's the Twilight.
Ayo.
It is, by all accounts, feels like we are in the early 2010s again.
Yes.
And I don't know how to feel about that, but I'm alive, I guess. I'm here. I'm bracing for it. I'm preparing by taking my vitamins. I've unfortunately started watching Modern Family to cope with the fact that there are fan edits of fucking Hunger Games on TikTok for me right now. So I'm just leaning into it. How are you coping?
I also feel the just inescapable urge to retreat to 2010.
When are you going to start wearing galaxy print again?
No. I have limits. I have standards.
How are you?
I wanted to bring a show to the space. I don't think we have talked about it when it was in its first season, but it's back with its second season. So now it feels like a good time to remind and or introduce people to Somebody Somewhere on HBO Max.
We have not talked about this.
Okay, good, because I had no backup. So great. That's good.
We haven't. I think the only thing I've heard about it is, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a piece by Abby about it.
I believe that is correct. I believe Abby did write a piece about it, friend of the pod. This show fucking rocks. It is very understated in comparison to a lot of the big hitters on the HBO slot, right?
Yeah.
But it's very sweet and also painful, but also very joyful. And everyone's it's amazing.
That's my shit.
It's like set in Kansas, and this woman is trying to like figure her shit out and, you know, dealing with the loss of someone very important to her, and also like kind of reunited with, you know, someone she went to high school with, like a friend, and like having a new kind of adult friendship and figuring shit out. And all these like found family type things, and being like, is it too late to do anything with my life, like now that I'm 40 or whatever? And like, hey, remember when people had dreams? What's up with that? Like, you know. But it's so good, and it's one of those shows that like kind of is easily looked over because it's not super high stakes, and it feels very not like it's not doing a lot, but it is saying a lot, and it's very like wonderful and like leaves you with something.
That's so good to hear, because I have that on my list on HBO, because I saw what the fuck is it called? The cover art?
Yes.
And I was like, that looks cute. Yeah. Like, that looks like something I'd like. And I remember seeing Abby's piece about it and being like, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
But knowing, now that I have a true recommendation, I will start watching that.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is a great time. It is very, like, I feel like I'm selling it this like it's a sad show, but it's also a very, very funny show. But it's very,
No, that's my shit.
good waves of balance here. How are you doing, my friend?
I am here. It feels like spring proper right now.
Love that.
Which is, it's good. There's windows are open. Birds are screaming. The pollen though, I forgot how much I don't like that. So
Right.
I have an anti-pollen platform. There were a couple of things I thought about bringing this week, but I needed to be honest with myself. And my happy thing is specifically the casting in the trailer, but specifically the casting of the movie, of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer?
I have.
Okay.
I was
right.
aggressively targeted this, yes. So I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, friends of the show might know my experience with this series.
Mhm.
But to catch y'all up, when this book came out in 2020, I was like, Suzanne, why?
Yeah.
I trust you. I love you. I don't understand.
Who needs
Why would you
this?
ever? Why would you prioritize the villain like this? Like you have a very anti-fascism platform. I don't understand. And then I read the book last year, and I was like, oh, I get it now. Your platform has not changed, unlike so many of the authors that I grew up with.
Sure.
Because the fact that the book focuses on Snow, unreliable narrator to say the least, and sets up a story that is no longer in existence anymore. I was so nervous about this casting and am pleased to see that Lionsgate money is actually going somewhere. I want to note 3 members that I'm very excited to see.
Sure.
1, Hunter as Tigress.
Yes. That I screamed.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I knew, like, all of these castings I knew, right? Not a surprise, but seeing them in the trailer is a different vibe.
Sure. Yes.
Very good. Would have, just very important. Like, love that very much. Seeing Hottie with a Body, Peter Dinklage,
Yes.
as Kasha was very important to me, because Peter is hot.
Yes.
He
strut in there.
and
Like, he owned the place.
He's so hot.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't watch Game of Thrones because I don't fuck with that.
Sure.
So it's very nice to be able to see something that I can actually appreciate him in. But to be able to see him play a villain, respect very much. Because I know he can do it and he can do it well. And then, 4. Love of my life, Viola Davis.
Yes.
Playing true villain Dr. Gall. And they did Heterochromia, which I like. I love so much. I love Viola Davis. Not new. I just want to say, for those folks on TikTok who seem to not know that Jason Schwartzman existed.
Right.
Jason Schwartzman is not, in fact, Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
They are different people, though I can see, the costume and makeup department did a great job, so I understand. I think that might just be a compliment to them.
Yeah.
Jason Schwartzman as Lucky is very good.
It's just so funny that I can imagine the casting director being like, okay, we need someone that could pull off deranged Stanley Tucci energy, but is not Stanley Tucci, and could also look like, you know, an 1800s, like, bicycle salesman, you know, like, old-timey energy. And that answer is Jason Schwartzman. Like,
It's obviously Jason Schwartzman.
he's the guy. He's the guy for that.
Right.
And it's good to have a niche, you know?
It is. He fills so many specific needs that Hollywood has. I am very excited because the Hunger Games books, I will say, did a great service to me a decade plus ago.
Right.
What I have always noticed about the movies is the meanings always get very watered down.
Sure.
So not necessarily looking forward to that. But if you have been on the fence about reading the book until now, I do want to emphasize the fact that it is in no way pro Snow.
Okay.
At all. Like,
Yeah.
just because it is told from his perspective. He is a very unreliable narrator. So if you leave reading that book feeling like it is sympathetic towards him, I would recommend checking yourself. Like, because it is very overtly not that. So seeing the trailer made me very excited because that feels like it is coming across there. And also, I'm just so excited to see Viola Davis. Seeing her as a villain makes me very excited in things because I love her. So
Amazing. Amazing stuff.
And also, just a aside for you, that if you haven't read it, there's a lot of things in the book that they probably won't get to in the movies because that's how it was in the fucking original. So
do I have to go back into Hunger Games era? I feel like I might.
You don't have to, but like, I'm just saying that I had watched the trailer on YouTube. I went onto TikTok for the first time that day and it was all fucking fan edits.
Yeah.
And I was like, where and what year am I in?
Yeah. Ugh.
So, was I complaining? No. Was I confused? Yes.
Understandably so, yeah.
So, we just get to see what it would have been like, and I don't know that that's bad. It's just, I'm not necessarily looking forward to people fully misunderstanding.
Sure.
And like, do you remember the original when they did the fucking Capital makeup line?
Oh, God,
like,
yeah.
I'm just...
We're going to be in a really dark era.
I'm not looking forward to that, especially... Not like things were drastically better a decade plus ago.
Sure.
But especially right now. Like... I don't know that we need the Capitol being emphasized right now. So, anyway.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. We don't have any current events. I just wanted to say for you, this is probably not interesting to anyone else but you, but that's fine because who the fuck cares? So I think I had told you that last week I was rewatching Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Do you remember the episode where in the Rose Apothecary, that word's so hard to say.
It's
so rude.
It's a really rude word, yeah.
So disrespectful. When David and Patrick are getting a lot of their products stolen by those like teens.
Oh, yes.
By the youth.
Uh-huh.
One of those youth is the actor who plays Christian in Vampire Academy.
No shit.
Yes, shit.
Whoa.
When I was watching it, I was looking and I was like, why is that kid cute? Question mark? And I paused it and I looked at him and I was like, what the fuck? That's Christian.
Oh my god.
So,
baby boy.
It's all connected.
Wow. I love that.
So, yeah. Also, if y'all have not rewatched Schitt's Creek, I really do follow I recommend just like following the public opinion. Just fucking skip season 1, man.
Yeah.
It's just a completely different show.
You don't have to do that.
Just don't do it to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Just be kind and skip it. Okay, so here's what I remember from last week. We took a road trip.
Sponsored by Honda.
Sponsored by Honda. To our favorite little town in West Virginia. Weirdly, Schitt's Creek. Who knew?
Yeah.
They went to motel after going by diner. And then Rose was like, this is boring. What if I just run into the woods?
Sure.
Because I don't... no.
This is safe
I don't wanna
for
stay
me.
here.
And
This is too safe.
yeah.
Too solitary. Reminds me too much of Russia.
All right.
I'm just going to tell the clerk that I'm being attacked and I'm going to go run into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I need a little spice in my life, actually. And that's what you missed on Glee.
Rose.
You know how sometimes with trauma, safety feels more dangerous
Right.
than
Yeah.
living in constant fear?
Oh,
That's what Rose is going through.
Rose.
And I can't blame her, because I know how
Right.
that feels.
God. So she's running in these woods. Immediately loses track or sense of where she is. Because of course she's not been here before. These are new woods to her. It's dark. She doesn't know shit. All she sees is like the Big Dipper, and it's like, okay, I have a vague sense of directions, but where I go after this, who can say? Right?
She, bless her heart, like, that she thought like, oh, well, if I just keep running, if I just keep running, then it'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'll
it's like,
just-
yeah,
I'll
there's
just
like
hit
a
an
tiny
interstate.
road out of town that could be easier, but that's what Dimitri would think I was gonna do. So I'm just gonna fuck around and keep running in the woods.
Right. She's also very much not dressed
No.
for being in the woods right now.
No. So it's not looking great. And meanwhile, she's like, you know what would also be good? Let me check in on my good friend Lissa. It's like,
Instead
Rose.
of being hyper vigilant because you are in the woods,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Rose, I have questions. What's going on?
Aren't you a guardian? Aren't you a literal, legal, graduated guardian?
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Right. So we kind of got
But
this.
anyways, let's
yeah.
go check in on what Lissa's doing.
Let's check in and see what's happening. I got nothing else to focus on right now. I'm good. So we
It's
got-
just her and the Big Dipper
Right.
just vibing. So let's just check in on her best friend.
Exactly. So we got most of the squad here kind of like debriefing for, potential interrogations, what the story is, how hard they're going to come at people like Christian, who could be obviously pinned for the fire and the explosion, etc. And just kind of piecing together the narrative here, right?
I feel very bad because, like, she's waiting essentially for Hans. They're doing a pseudo police report right now.
Yes, right.
Like an interrogation. So naturally, like, Lissa and Christian would be there because they're like, you two are always in trouble.
Right.
Like, we need to look at you.
Yeah.
But Tasha's there, and Tasha knows nothing. And so she's like, I don't trust either of you.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but I don't.
I don't know why I'm here, but I don't trust either of you. Poor Rose at this time, too, is realizing Lissa is using way too much spirit.
A lot of spirit, which not great. Consistently, all the time,
Correct.
on your brain. No, thank you.
And so naturally, Lissa goes in with her and Christian and Tasha.
Yeah.
And there's Hans Steele, who we always know. Best friend.
We love
Best friend Steele.
We know and love Steele.
We know and love Steele. But we also actually know and love Alberta, who's there.
Yes. Right.
And fucking Hans was like, I asked for Lissa. Why are you two here?
Right. And also, like, at some point, Abe, like, saunters into, like, this is a whole, like, gaggle of people, which is supposed to be an interrogation for one
person.
singular person. And, like, I get to an extent wanting, I don't know if it's, like, backup necessarily, but, you know, I understand that, like, Liz and Christian are always kind of together. Tasha seems somewhat relevant because she's obviously close with Christian, whatever. But at some point, it gets to a gaggle of folks that is like way too incriminating, right? Especially if one of these people doesn't really know the actuality of what happened. It just feels very like we're putting a lot of heat and energy on one group of people, which we're trying to divert attention from, right? Isn't that the plan? Like, wasn't that the whole thing?
Christian's like, oh, well, we're just going to sit here.
We're not
Christian
gonna talk.
and Tasha, we're just going to sit here and we're not going to say anything.
Yeah. God.
So, which is obviously not true.
Right.
But, sure, well, let's try that, Christian, and see how that goes.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
So, poor Hans, who's just trying to do his job,
Right.
try to figure out what happened, is like, so, Lissa, where were you when the statues exploded?
Just like, well, obviously.
So they try to go through. Obviously, I was part of the escort.
I was actually part of the party, so. And he's like, yeah, you know, there's witnesses, very convenient. What about after? And the crowd? She's like, yeah, I went back to the council building where everyone was meeting up and being safe, you know? And there's witnesses as well, period. And she's like, obviously,
we also have witnesses to support all of this.
Right. And she's like, well, obviously, I had no idea about this beforehand. I was so shocked. And, like, I didn't even know it was possible. It's, like, out of these big, sturdy cells that, like, can imprison anybody. Like, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, Hans, why would you make a prison that you could escape from?
Yeah, it seems like a you problem, actually. It seems like not my problem.
And then he starts talking about Rose. He's like, so you have that bond with her, right? Like, you didn't pick up on anything about her trying to escape? And Lissa's like, you fool. She can read my thoughts. It doesn't work the other way around.
Yeah, it's a one-way bond. You fool.
Obviously.
And Alberta finally pipes up and it's like, that is true. We can't confirm that. That is true.
Hans is getting frustrated at this point because, like, he's not getting anything from Lissa. And so he's like, listen, if you're caught concealing information or aiding someone, you're going to face consequences. Like, you being royalty doesn't exempt any of you from treason. So Lissa, bless her, is like, puts on being really scared and sad. She's like, I just can't believe that Rose would do this.
That's not the friend I knew. I can't believe and in some ways, it is putting the salt on a little bit of put the sauce on, but, like, there's also part of her that got wind of the stuff that happened with Meredith and the details of the escape that were a little bit more not as fun. So there's also a little bit of like, damn, that is actually crazy because Meredith is our friend, I guess, in this universe, even though we barely see her. That my friend is capable of.
Yeah,
that.
why the fuck does everyone care about Meredith in this universe?
Right. When
like,
the show, at least
books,
we had her. We knew what her deal was. Like,
yeah, in a TV show, I would die for Meredith. In
Yeah.
the books, we don't know her.
right. It's very confusing.
But apparently in the books, everyone's like, damn, we need to throw this huge affair for Meredith. Like, where the fuck did this come from?
Right. And this whole time we're kind of getting this back and forth about like, oh, well, you were defending Rose and thought she was innocent, blah, blah, blah. And now you think she's a monster. And she's like, well, these are different things. Like, I have to keep up appearances here. And like, you know, obviously what she did now is unforgivable. And maybe like confirms something, whatever. And then we get to this kind of pivot to Dimitri.
And Hans is still like,
Yeah.
naturally being like, Strigoi?
Yeah,
And
very
it's like,
skeptical.
shut up. Like, he's He's not a Strigoi. He was doing this and helping Rose because he used to be her teacher. He thought she was in trouble. All this information.
Right.
And she starts to cut herself off because she's like, fuck. Like, I don't want to do... Like, I don't want to say all this shit about Dimitri because of... They still have this, like, weird connection because of her touching him. Like, he got touched by an angel or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and she, like, looks at Alberta and eventually says that Dimitri was helping Rose because they were involved. TM.
Yeah. Because at some point, they're not buying it, right? Because it's like...
Yeah, because Hans is like, what the fuck?
Teacher?
Like, why?
That's not really the relationship that would warrant crimes like that and escape plans.
Yeah.
But involvement, ? Love, perhaps. Right. That could do something. And everyone's like, what? Jaws on the floor.
And Alberta, not surprised at all.
No, Alberta's cool, yeah.
Because he has rocks for brains, is like, involved. When you say involved, what do you mean? She's like, he loved her. She loved him, like...
How much more do I need to say? Right.
Like, what do you want me to spell this out for you? And Steele is like, well, she is underage. So.
Which, valid point.
She was.
Yeah.
Now she's 18.
Right.
But Hans is like, unless they manage some beautiful, touching romance in the last few weeks, then this should have been reported at the school. Which, you know what?
Yeah.
You're right.
Hey, you know,
you're right.
You're not off, okay?
You are correct.
That is the one thing you've been right about this whole time. Congratulations, you did it.
And then fucking Alberta is like, listen, I think we have some more important things right now.
You were distracted.
Than some romance that may or may not have happened. Fucking Alberta. Just trying not to get in trouble for not being a mandatory reporter.
Yeah.
So anyways, they now have context.
Yes.
For Dimitri.
And more points
Rose.
to him not being a Strigoi anymore, which...
Correct.
Thank God.
And also, Lissa and Christian and Tasha are in the clear.
Right.
From this.
Great
so they're
news.
like, skedaddle. Like, I want nothing to do with you now.
Now for the next phase of our plan.
Yeah.
Poor Eddie was just like sitting in the corner. Like being like, hey guys, how'd it go?
Yeah, like Eddie's out in the hall, like waiting to be next. And it's so cute because they just like give each other a nod and they're like, great, went good.
Ugh. We had everyone at our disposal for Lissa's questioning, but Eddie's just out here going and
yeah, I don't know. He didn't get the memo.
Yeah. It's like, was there a calendar invite or something I missed? Did we plan something here?
I love this because as soon as they like leave, Tasha's like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
Why didn't you tell me any of this? Why couldn't you have like told me, kept me in, let me know so I could have supported you? What's going on?
It's like, listen, everything's
they don't
kind
really
of
get very far.
Very complicated.
Abe.
Yeah.
He's just like skulking outside the building.
It's like, is anyone gonna check in on how I'm doing right now? Is everyone gonna ask me how I'm feeling?
Is anyone bothering to ask how poor Abe is feeling about all of
want
this?
To check in on poor Abe.
He's like,
trying
has
to
the back of his hand against his forehead, like feigning.
Yeah.
I love this man.
He's got a comically small fan, just fanning himself.
Oh.
God.
But they are checking in, confirming that everything is the same between all of them, and trying to figure out, like, what do we do next? Because they don't really have any real evidence. So what could you possibly do now? Like, how do you even come up with the list?
Right. And in typical Abe fashion, he gives really no information. That's helpful.
Dude.
Because Liz, of course, is like, I don't even know where to start. You keep saying baby steps and, like, just start, but also where do I do that and how and what do we even need? And Abe's just like, you know,
Right.
one step at a time. Anyway, see ya. Have fun.
Fuck.
Hope you figure it out. Anyway, bye.
It isn't, because Abe does nothing. It's not his, but it's Lissa who comes to the realization that they should probably ask Ambrose.
Right.
But Abe does finally say, like, oh, well, and this took so much prodding, right?
Right.
He's like, oh, well, I did see him talking to Rose when we were in court.
Oh, interesting.
He gave her, like, some sort of signal. And Lissa's like, what the fuck?
Like, it's
Abe?
funny you mention Ambrose because he did have a relationship with Rose while she was being escorted from the trial, and definitely passed over a piece of paper. That could be something, right, guys? Everyone's like, Abe, how long have you been sitting on this information?
Why do we have to say very specific secret words to you to get information?
Yeah. God.
What is this?
Ugh.
This man. But that seems to be the next step,
Right.
is check out what's going on with Ambrose, what happened, so that they get the information that Rose obviously didn't tell them.
Right.
While the general public starts elections for the next royal monarch person.
Yeah. America's Next Top Monarch.
Oh, please.
Where all the candidates have to be tested on their charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent and see if they can run and
When
rule
they all
the
get
school.
haircuts that they don't want,
Right.
and they have to be dropped into tanks of water to
Yes.
do beautiful photo shoots.
Yeah. That's how
I mean,
monarchies should work. If a monarchy should exist, and it shouldn't, but if it does, it might as well be fun, right? Like, it might as well have a little bit of flavor into it.
I mean, all of those things are what monarchs do on a daily basis. So
Right.
I don't understand what's hard about it.
Right, exactly. It makes sense.
Right. Rose unfortunately doesn't get to hear the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, because she gets
Because
fucking
Dimitri
body
fucking
slammed.
plows her into the ground. Because again, she's not in her head.
Right.
She's just wandering around.
Yeah, like, I have to imagine, like, what... Is she, like, continually running while she's also, like, very deep into someone else's brain? Or did she, like, sit and, like, have a little check-in? Or is she just aimlessly walking in circles? Well, because she can't focus on two things at once. Like, how does this work?
Every time that she's in Lissa's head, what I imagine is, like, you know how in Animal Crossing when like a villager needs to ask you something and they're like, and they always like walk really slow
Yeah.
while they have that like thought bubble.
It's like, I hope
That's
someone
what I
approaches
imagine.
me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most of the time she's, like, sitting in a car or sitting in her room
Right.
on her bed. Like, it's not actively doing a lot of stuff. Or it's, like, you know, imprisoned or something. And it's, like, again, sitting or aimlessly wandering in a very contained room. So I'm just like, what?
Yeah, like, you mean to tell me that she could run while she could try to kill a Strigoi while being in Lissa's head? No.
I don't know about that.
You can't chew and walk gum.
No, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Dimitri is like, you dumb bitch. I knew exactly what you were going to do. You should have gone into town. That would have shocked me.
Yeah. Ugh,
Of course you went into the woods.
God. This...
Anyways, she's like, gets up and she's like, don't act so smart.
Right. It's like, I can just run away again. And he's like, can we stop this? Like, this is just annoying more than it is actually doing anything. And if we're just going to keep going in this cycle of this, it's going to be very unproductive. So stop.
Yeah, it's just like a waste of time, Rose.
Yeah.
Also, I loved this part though, because he was like, homie, I am seconds away from tossing you over my shoulder. Can you please stop?
Yeah. Just behave, please. Chill, okay?
But it isn't until he says the L word. No. The Lissa word.
The L word.
That he's like, how do you think Lissa would feel if you got killed?
Being
Rose.
foolish like this.
She's like, damn it. Okay, fine. Let's go back.
I do love in her brain, though, she's like, listen, if I want to go kill myself, that's on me. That's my choice. Okay, like, if I want to get killed, I'm doing that. It's what I'm doing. But yeah, I guess Lissa would also be bummed, so I might as well like pack it up.
Her issues with authority are amazing.
They're
and
so
beautiful,
textbook.
and
It's
I
so
love them.
beautiful. That's so funny.
And she fully expected that when they got back, there wouldn't be like a problem.
Right. Like,
But
there are cops everywhere, naturally. Like, and because this whole time too, she was like, "Oh man, this town is just called town. It should be at least." And there's like one police officer and a dog, maybe. But it's like, homie, you
it's fucking
escaped-
Harrison Ford again and that CGI dog.
Yeah, you escaped. You ran out of a motel screaming, so stressed, and you spoke sweet nothings to the guy who was just working there, and was like, "This guy is gonna kill me, so don't let him come after me." And you think, I don't know, someone wouldn't call someone? That wouldn't be a problem here.
Yeah, did you think that a dude on a horse was gonna come up? Like,
Right.
what did you think was gonna happen?
And poor Sydney, who was like, worked so hard to find a remote place they could pay for in perpetuity, and just as long
Right.
as it takes, and chill out. And within 24 hours, she's got to go back to the plan and just start from the ground up again.
Yep.
God.
Like, she grabbed all of the stuff from both of their bags, went through like a back door,
Right.
and was gone, girl. Because Rose notices, like, obviously Sydney's car is gone.
Right. Yeah.
And so Dimitri assumes, hopefully, that Sydney didn't just leave them for good.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that she was at least a little bit afraid of Abe, that she wouldn't leave them forever.
Mhm.
And is like, she's got to be around here at least somewhere. She was.
Yes.
She was like half a mile down the road or something.
God. Love her.
And
She's like, you motherfuckers.
pissed.
Yeah. I leave you alone for one night.
Like 20 minutes max.
Right.
And you already ran?
What's going on?
She's just so tired. All she wants to do is rest and eat French fries slowly
Right. So
until they get cold. And I just want her to have peace.
Yeah. Is that too much to ask for?
Apparently. She's so afraid. She doesn't want to call Abe. But now they have to find a new place to go. And they have to do it on the fly. They can't, like, research this one.
Yeah. And Rose is just like, well, why don't we just find a hotel? Just get a hotel. We get room service. And we'll work on the plan. And it'll be good. And Sydney's like, we researched this town for so long for this. We can't just go to another random spot, especially close by, because they've probably maybe run my plates, or at least put out warnings around the area of descriptions here. And it's gonna be a big fucking mess, Rose. God.
Thankfully, they finally find a place, put it into the GPS and go.
Right.
And Rose is like, great. So now that you've done the boring stuff, can I do my shit? Can I tell you the important stuff about what we're doing now?
Because the plan is changing, alright?
I need to tell you my important secret that I've been holding on to, which is Lissa has a sibling,
Uh-oh.
and I think that we should find them.
Just a slight
So-
pivot to the plan. We got
Right.
work to do, okay? They're not just gonna sit pretty when we could be finding potential something to save Lissa. Pretty
Yeah.
cool, if you ask me. And
She pulls out the note that, again, no one confiscated from her.
yeah,
She didn't lose during her escape.
no. And both Dimitri and Sydney are kind of like shocked at this, but also very skeptical because they are them. And, you know, Rose's only real evidence here is this note that we don't know. I don't have proof that is her handwriting, right? And also, her other piece of evidence is that the ghost of Tatiana told her that she wrote that. So, it's not looking great for the skeptics in the room, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Rose takes that as gospel. Right. And it isn't until Sydney is like, ma'am, what? Maybe you misread the ghost's subtle gesture.
Right.
And I love that Rose is like, Sydney, you never support me. You never trust me.
Yeah, you always do this. Yeah. I just want someone to have my back for once, okay?
Exactly.
God.
And there's a part where, like, Dimitri seems all in on this until he's like, well, wait a second. If we had to do that, that would mean that we're going against what Lissa says to stay put.
And we have to do what Lissa says, because I owe her my life.
Right. And I notably don't disobey Lissa.
Yeah.
So, Sydney, the skeptic, and Dimitri, Mr. Loyal, over here, two different versions of not wanting to go through with this plan.
So the odds are kind of stacked against her a little bit here.
Right. And there's a part too where Dimitri's like, okay, well, even if we wanted to go through with this, like, where would we even start? Because we don't have any clues. Mm-hmm. And Rose is like, well, true.
Valid.
But we do know that someone broke into the Alchemist building, Sydney.
Right. There was an investigation about this, Sydney.
So
she's very wistful in the form of like, why don't we just reopen that investigation, re-research those files, and just reverse engineer it? And Sydney's like, that's not how any of this. That's not how documents work. They didn't have names on them. You know, we don't know. Like, could be a compelling theory that, like, someone, you know, stole these records, especially ones that were covering up the Eric, you know, paying off ladies situation, potentially a suitor, a lover that maybe had a child. But we don't know how any of these documents confer that. And also, we don't have them anymore. That's the whole thing. Like,
it would also be a very happy coincidence if those connected somehow.
Exactly.
But it's really the only starting place that Rose has. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's like, what else are you going to do? So
right, exactly.
At least this seems like fun.
Really, the only place that she has to go right now is like disassociate into Lissa's head.
Yeah.
Because she's like, we have an hour to go now. I might as well just spy on what Lissa's doing.
Yeah. Which
I don't have anything else. And this is, I'm going to be honest with y'all, friends. This is not great. This is not a great situation.
Yeah, this gets into some really dicey waters here. Because she is in Adrian's parents' home.
Yes.
You know, the sort of all the panic and stuff over the escape, and the building was kind of swarming with people, so the Ivashkovs kind of took her in a little bit. And like Adrian's there, and listen, Christian arrive, and there's this sort of like chat conversation about like the questioning and everything. And obviously the fact that they're not convinced that none of them had anything to do with it, but they don't have any evidence or proof on the contrary. So that at least is looking okay.
And then all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. Mm-hmm. And because they've been grateful, like Adrian and Lissa and Christian have been grateful that like no one's around. So they've been able to like talk freely about their scheming and planning.
Right.
And there's a knock on the door and Christian's like, wait a second, your parents wouldn't knock. This is their house. Like, why would they knock
Right.
coming into their house?
I don't recognize that knock.
Right, exactly. And Adrian comes back with this guy named Joe, who's a janitor.
Yes.
Specifically, the janitor.
The one who testified.
Yeah, who testified that Adrian wasn't with Rose when Tatiana was murdered.
Right.
Because he's the one who works in Rose's building. And for some reason, he showed up to the Ivashkovs' home.
Yeah.
And that he is leaving court and specifically says, but that everything's set.
Yeah, like, tell Lady Ivashkov that it's all good and I'm gonna bounce. See ya. And Lissa, it's like, what the fuck did you just
like
say?
immediately stands up and is like, what the fuck?
Say that
are you
again,
talking about?
Joe? What was that? And Joe is just freaking out over being like, listen, it's fine. She's gonna know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. I really gotta go.
Right.
And Lissa kind of turns on the spirit a lot more, the compulsion a lot more here. And it's like, what the fuck did you need to talk to her about? What was it? And Joe says, the money. And the money is set. That is what's set. And Lissa's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean, bitch?
And notably intimidating Lissa
Yeah.
is like, what money?
Right.
So Joe Goldberg hesitates.
Across
but he
universe
can't fight
collaboration.
But he can't fight this much compulsion, right? Like, Rose says she's using so much compulsion that he may as well have been like a puppet on strings.
Yeah.
And so Joe Goldberg is like, the money to testify about where he gestures to Adrian was. And Adrian starts to freak out a little bit. He's like, what do you mean where I was? What do you say? Like, what? What are you talking about? Because Adrian, as you all might remember, he was at Rose's building that day. Like, that is a fact. The timing might have been a little bit adjusted. But, like, that is a true fact that they were there together. Yeah. And Christian is like, is Adrian's mom paying you off to say that you saw Adrian? Which wouldn't be a shock from what we know about Adrian's mom.
Right. Yes.
And also, like, I mean, these are the richest, like, they are rich royals. Like, that also isn't a shock in general.
Right.
But Joe Goldberg is like, I did see him.
I just
he
don't
says,
know
well,
when.
like, sweating.
Right. Sweating bullets over here. It's like, I swear.
But it's also, Lissa's convulsion is starting to, like, physically hurt him, apparently. He's like, I just don't remember the time of when it happened. And that's what I told the other guy, too.
Ba-ba.
She paid me to put a time on when you were there.
So now Adrian's like, who the fuck is the other guy? What do you mean? How many people are involved in this fucking scheme?
And then, so there's, the front door starts opening while they're still trying to ask, like, who was this other guy?
Yeah. They're like, give us a fucking minute, okay?
Right, exactly. And they're not, Joe's not really giving any real answers. He says he'd never seen, like, it was no one he'd seen before.
Right.
Some Roy who wanted him to testify about when he'd seen Rose, who paid him more than Adrian's mom. And he said, not the other person we don't know about, but Joe says no harm in helping them both, especially since Hathaway did it.
Yikes. So that's pretty nuts.
It's not great. And also, like, Adrian, for, like, the second time now, but he's more serious now, is telling Lissa to back off.
Right. It's like, please, God, stop.
Please do not kill. I mean, you might be the only one who can kill Joe Goldberg, but, like, please stop.
Yeah, we can't have more blood on our hands. All right.
The last question, though, is like, describe this man.
Right.
And Joe was like, he looks like no one. Plain, ordinary, except the hand. But Adrian's mom's walking in now, so, like, they don't really have a chance to, like...
Yeah, get any follow-up.
Yeah. So Adrian's really quickly, like, as his mom's walking in, is like, forget, like, we didn't have this conversation, shut the fuck up. Like...
Yeah, right. Get out of here.
Even though Joe's shirt is, like, visibly soaked with sweat.
Right.
Because of the amount of compulsion that was being used.
Oh, God.
So, who is this man?
I'm scared. Scared.
Just an ordinary dude, which could be nothing, right? Because, like, compulsion. Like, they can make... Anyone can be made to seem ordinary.
Right.
But the hand?
Don't.
Anyways, they're like, hey, this dude came to see you. Anyways, we gotta go by.
Anyway, we gotta get out of here.
So, question mark. I want to know your thoughts about the end of this chapter, where Sydney pulls up to.
Oh, God. Sydney, like, she's, like, hacked into the mainframe right now. She's got her laptop on.
Yeah.
And
She's
like,
driving this Honda and also has a laptop open.
yeah, it's a very dangerous situation in hindsight.
Right.
And Rose's like, where the hell are we? And they're in Altswood, which is... honestly makes and Rose says this makes the last town, which she would have called town, look like New York. So that's the kind of energy that we're getting on here. And they, get up into this, like, really narrow kind of road, and there's, like, obviously being alert of other people around, et cetera, et cetera. Very, like, slow and steady here. And then Sydney just pulls up. And it's like, all right, time to get out. They're like, what? Like, are we camping? Like, what's happening here? And she's like, no, we have to, we're going on foot now. Dimitri, are you as good as you say you are fighting-wise? And Dimitri's like, yeah. And Rose is like, aren't you gonna ask me about how good and cool I am? And she's like, I know that, Rose. Shut up. Stop. And she's like, okay. Hope it's just as good as y'all say. And that's the end of the conversation. It's like, okay, cool. And they're like, Rose and Dimitri kind of take their, like, guardian positions to protect Sydney, which is very cute. And are very curious as to where the fuck they're going and to whom and what. And all that Sydney says is, I'm taking you to people that I am sure won't turn you in. And there are suddenly so many, like, rustling in the trees. There's bodies. There's eyes. And once Rose kind of gets her vision back a little bit, there are vampires just everywhere. All over. Okay. Cool. Right?
What the fuck, Sydney?
Sydney, who are you? What is your deal?
Sydney, what in the world?
Yeah. Who are your connects, Sydney, in all of these fucking towns? What is happening?
How do you... I mean, that's the thing, right? Is, like, by nature, alchemists are neutral.
Right.
But also, Sydney, what? Like, Dimitri was just here, ma'am.
Right.
Do you not have respect for the trauma?
Right, for real. So I'm scared.
Have questions.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to getting answers.
Which we almost certainly will, in a very prompt manner.
In our next chapters next week, because good God. I mean, she's not wrong, right? In the sense that they won't turn her in.
Yeah. Ugh.
Theoretically.
Right.
So, but, all right, Ferrero, you have my attention.
Go off. I'm listening.
I'm intrigued. All right, we have some amazing patrons to thank. Would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you to Kylie Minty.
Ooh, thank you to Alex Dornan.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Malt Gray.
Mouch. Thank you to Jasmine Anastasia.
Ow, ow, ow. Thank you to Megan Pattinson.
Ooh, thank you to Cassandra O'Shea.
O'Shea. Thank you to Katya Karp.
Ooh, thank you to Hope Castile.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Rachel Ashford.
Ooh, thank you to Maddie Facinelli.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Genevieve Morgan.
Ooh, thank you to Danielle Burke.
Ow. Thank you to my mom, your mom,
Ooh.
all of our moms, Kelly Beck.
Ah, Mom. Thank you to Sophia Salinger.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Laura Forty.
Ooh, thank you to Dan Zeklos.
Pew, pew, pew. Thank you to Emily Ozera.
Ooh, thank you to Jaylene Ivishkov.
Pew, pew. And last but certainly not least, thank you to Ashlyn Vogel.
Ooh. So I I have a fan fiction for you this week.
All right.
This is by the author Sasuke Lover 69.
Okay.
This was published yesterday. Very fresh.
Wow.
And it is titled The Effervescent Snail.
Okay.
The summary is Edward Cullen has a relaxing day with his beloved pet snail, Turbo.
Now,
And there's no chapters here.
great.
Edward could scarcely imagine a life without him. Turbo, his love and light and sole reason to live. Turbo was a white garden snail. His shell was a flecked ivory with tawny spirals in it, with a pale, mucousy body that tickled Edward's hand when he slithered across it. Surprisingly, snails were one of the few animals that weren't completely repelled by vampires. They were fierceless little creatures with a love for lettuce and mushrooms. Turbo's favorite hobbies included munching on sprigs of leaves, crawling around in his terrarium, and cuddling with Edward on rainy evenings while he read aloud to his pet. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The moment the sun rose, Edward prepared for their morning walk. Opening the door and looking into his wardrobe, which was full of identical peacoats and button-ups, he carefully decided on his outfit and dressed himself. Taking a seat at the vanity, he used a bamboo comb to smooth his hair back into subtle bronze waves. He always tried his best to look presentable in front of Turbo. Now came his favorite part. Edward picked up Turbo's miniature leash, attached the hatch to the terrarium, and fastened it around the snail's shell, making sure to be extremely delicate with his movements. Turbo hated it when you bumped your finger into his shell too hard. End scene.
That was beautiful. Is this supposed to be based on that, like, DreamWorks or whatever movie where it's a snail that it's really fast, like a Lightning McQueen type situation? Or is it just a snail named Turbo? Because that's very good.
I think it's just a snail named Turbo.
That's way better. Because I was really anticipating some race or something going on. But just Edward and his little snail, I think, is beautiful. I think
it's just him and his friend, the snail.
His best friend. I love it. I'm a big fan. Wow.
It's unfortunately really pure and great.
I love it. I love it.
So there you go. Well, friends, I have a new television show recommendation that I will be watching this week. So I will report back.
Hell yeah. And I'm gonna read the Hunger Games. Just kidding.
Oh God. Please take care of yourselves.
Yes.
And until next week, as we say here in the Pacific Northwest,
get bit.
Ooh.
Into the Twilight is an Earbud Media production. You can follow us on Twitter at Into the Twilight or on TikTok at Into the Twilight Show. You can find me at Cody Corral on Twitter and Allie at Alexandria Does. And you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Into the Twilight. We have merch, so much stuff. All those links are in the episode description. And make sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast hosting platform. It really helps the show. Thanks. Bye.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.